My name is Logan Goss.
What's going on? My name is Isaac Lassiter. This is episode 1 of the Can't Believe You Haven't Seen podcast.
And today we'll be discussing a Spike Lee joint, School Daze.
All right. School Day is about HBCU called Mission College, and the activist-minded DAP immerses himself into a world of political rhetoric and social movements. One day, he hopes to rally the students at a united front, and at the other end of the spectrum, Julian, the head of the biggest fraternity on campus, is more concerned with maintaining a strict social order. In between, DAP's conflicted cousin, Half Pint, spends most of his time rushing the fraternity.
Okay. So, first thing we're going to discuss is if we see any similarities between the movie and our school now. So, well, I'll start off first. I don't know if I really see any really I guess a hierarchy or kind of spectrum, or I guess that they said that Julian is trying to create in the movie. I guess it might be a little bit, I guess, if you're kind of in certain maybe or the leadership, but I feel like everybody's just in their own groups now that it's kind of hard to have a hierarchy in the social order basically.
Yeah, and I agree. I know ECSU has its own problems and Mission College does as well, but I can't really see them overlapping in these between the movie and between the college in real life.
Yeah, and I would say that we have a lack of people who who play DAP, played by Larry Fishburne in the movie, dealing with political rhetoric and I guess and trying to start a movement on campus. I would say, or at least on our campus, I say we don't really have somebody doing that to the level that DAP was in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean there are people who are pro-black, of course, because we are black, but I don't really see people talking about conflicts going on across the world or any major things that will be affecting the black community.
Yeah. So, I guess going to our next question: How does this movie translate now to the present?
I feel like it translates pretty well. The whole thing of wake up. Because I feel like the black community has always had conflicts about within itself. It could be something simple, like people saying, I'm not dark skinned, I'm caramel. Bruh.
Yeah.
Or something bigger, internalized self-hate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like the whole, motif of wake up is really important because at the end of the day, we're all black.
Yeah. I feel like especially now because being woke now has a whole different meaning now. It didn't mean just knowing black self or just knowing black history about your black culture and knowing yourself. Now is about, I guess, using the need, I guess, to trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. You now see, I guess, opposite side or other people use it now to use it as a not a slur, but what I'm trying to say.
Woke?
Yeah, when people call you woke now, on the internet.
I mean, that's
they're trying to say you're trying to push something out on people instead of just, when that's not what woke is.
Instead
woke
of being politically aware.
Yeah, but woke is literally just starting the black community about knowing your black self or knowing about your culture and stuff and celebrating your culture. So, I will also say but even about the Greek stuff, even though hazing has definitely went down since this movie has came out, because we have more rules now put in fact to stop hazing, but hazing still happens. It still is a problem that black fraternities are facing. So now we're going to talk about scenes in the movie that stood out to us, or just the main popular scenes in the movie. The first one we're going to talk about is the Jacoby versus Wannabe musical scene. So how'd you feel about that?
When I first saw it, I didn't really know how to feel about it. Know what I mean? Because, I know there's a lot of, like I mentioned, there can be some internalized self-hate in the black community. But seeing it that flat out and that worded like that, against like it was basically light skins versus dark skins. You know what I mean? And I know like some, but like I guess it sort of made me a little bit uncomfortable, which is important because I got to understand what the climate of the issue was in the movie.
Yeah, I think I also like it too because because the other sorority, like most women were light skinned, curly hair, and then you had I wish there was another word we could use, but I guess the jigaboos who are mostly dark skinned women with natural hair. It's just I feel like it showed back then how maybe sororities, to be picked in a sorority, maybe you had to be like light skinned or like had to be light skinned with curly hair. Maybe it was like a uniform basically that they were going by and picking who was in these sororities. I definitely think like you can even just put that on like just use that same I guess philosophy on other things, like even acting. Sometimes instead of getting a dark skinned woman, they'll get a light skinned woman to play a role. Even if it's like a historical character that is dark skinned, they'll still get a light skinned woman because I guess the stereotype is that light skinned women are more pretty, I guess, and more preferred. So
They can be, I guess, like to some people they're more digestible.
Yeah, so I think this is a good topic, and I think it's also because like I feel like it's an important conversation, I guess, in the Black community because both light skinned and dark skinned people both get discriminated against in the Black community, just in different ways. And so I feel like it definitely is a conversation that I'm glad it's into the movie and that should also be pushed further into real life. Okay, so for our next question, next scene that we'll be talking about is the final crossing scene. So how do you feel about that? Or do you have any thoughts about it? Or
For the final crossing scene, are you referring to the night like when Half Pint loses his virginity or the
I think talk about that whole night, I guess, starting from them passing, was it the torch?
Yeah.
Passing the torch to that final scene at the end, and also with the bathroom scene there, picking up the. It wasn't poop, but yeah.
I guess it sort of showed the climate of what hazing was back then, like late night on the yard, marching, holding the torch, I feel like it was sort of interesting to see it in that light or see it that way. Because, much of, Greek organization is shrouded in mystery. So I feel like it was interesting to see it that way.
Yeah. So, I think it's also interesting because I guess back then, I guess it wasn't as discreet. So I guess everybody knew who was crossing. So that's very different than how it is now because you really don't know sometimes until the probate who's crossing. And I think, also about, you said about the hazing too, is just seeing insight on that and just seeing like, I guess like people want to belong to something. And so how their values, like how they'll kind of just not go by their values to being something that they want to belong into. Because that was Half Pint whole thing was pretty much wanting to belong to something. And I guess wanting to have that brotherhood. So
that ties into like the final night scene with like Half Pint and Julian's girl.
Yeah.
And when he came back to his cousin, he was talking about, I did this, I'm a gamma man.
Yeah.
But in the process, he sort of lost himself and his morals.
Yeah. Went against like not only his values, but his family values. Because he was like, I'm going to tell your mom this. Like, what would your mom think and stuff? So it's like, so I feel like it definitely went on that topic of like, does this, or like, why do people who have to join these organizations also have to go against their values? You ready to go to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next scene that we're going to talk about is the local and the student scene.
I feel like the local scene was actually really interesting to see because, people may go to college People may come from other places, and they may think that they're moving up in the world, and they may think they're better than or higher than thou. But at the same time, at the end of the day, we're still black. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that as a bad thing, but it's good to always remember, where you come from, your roots.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also saw it as like too, like people who like going to school, you're coming here, so now this is a place you're living. So I feel like sometimes you might forget, like, hold on, this is really like not like my town, like not the place I'm from. Like there's people who've been here, who worked here, lived here like all their lives, and you come over and like seeing it from like the town person side, because like we're both from
Elizabeth City.
Yeah, we're both from the town that our school is in, Elizabeth City. So I guess you can even see like how people talk about sometimes the thing that go to Elizabeth City.
Yeah.
Because it's a small town. Small town, there's not as many, it's not that many things that they do have in cities, and it's not as many opportunities that places have in the cities. So I can see how somebody like how they call them townies or something like that, or the people
like that, yeah.
The people who live in the town can have I guess can not like people who live, not like the students, because they come here, they come from school. So I can see how they think they're better than them. Yeah.
And I can agree, because like, I'm from Elizabeth City, and I've heard many people who come from like other places, and they talk about, oh, Elizabeth City this, oh, locals are that, this, that, the third. At the same time, like you're not from here, you don't really have any say about what's going on. You don't really know what's going on. You don't know anything about the people. So I feel like I can sort of relate to that in that aspect.
Yeah. And I also think things like that happen because it's not a lot of like intermingling from the community to the students. It's not a lot of things or places where they can come and meet. And then I feel like, and then also it's super easy to judge. So if something bad happens in the community, I feel like you can't just put that on the whole community. Like it's probably either a group of people or just one person out of that community that did something bad. So I don't think it's okay to judge that whole community. And then just going back on like, I feel like where you are, you gotta like realize like where you are like as a student. Like if you come from a city and then you come to North Carolina, like, and then you go to like a rural town, like you gotta realize like it's not gonna be that much of food stuff, much of food places, like even I guess like things to do, like it's gonna be things you're gonna have to find something, because things are gonna be different than the way how you are used to living. So even things to do, like there's gonna be other things to do that may not seem fun or may not things you have thought of before.
I agree. Like on like same thing, people would say this about Elizabeth City, they might say that. They might say, oh, there's nothing to do here. But at the same time, people who live in Elizabeth City, there's an understanding that if you want to have fun, just go to Virginia. You know what I mean?
Just gotta adapt. But then I guess I've never really been on that other side, so I don't really know, I guess, how they could feel too. But I guess I can also see how it feels like coming from a city, I guess, with almost like everything, and then coming out here has to be a big culture shock. So I can see how living out here when you're being from a city could be very frustrating. So, yeah. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is the last scene of the movie with Dap ringing the bell and screaming, "Wake up," and then everybody coming out their dorm rooms. So what was your thoughts about that?
I think that scene is really important. Like, wake up to like, wake up from your earthly struggles, like between dark skin and light skin, or organizational hierarchy. Wake up, we all have bigger fish to fry in this world, Like the phrase wake up is really important because, you're essentially dreaming about like, the little, like the smaller things. But when you really wake up, you can really see what's really going on.
Yeah, I like that scene too. Like I feel like even now we just need to wake up, just like you said, realize what's important, like, and just because during this thing that everybody was just focusing on stuff that either really wasn't important or they were just arguing too much, arguing with each other and just not really realizing what was important, like themselves, like being black, the black culture, black history, like to realize that that was important and that they are at school to better themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because that ending seemed like I had to think about that a lot, because at first, like when I was watching it, because I feel like it's something that you can watch and it can have like multiple meanings, like the ending.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to really I was thinking about it for like a week, trying to really feel like what Spike Lee was the message he was trying to put out, and I don't know if I still even have that right. So
I guess like it could be interpreted in many different ways, especially with all the different conflicts, between the townies and the students, or the light skins versus the dark skins, or what's his name, the activist?
Depp.
Yeah, Depp and Julian. There's just a lot of different, ways to interpret Wake Up. But at the end of the day, I feel like it all ties back to, moving on from like smaller things and understanding the bigger picture.
Yeah, to focus on things that are more important in the world. Yeah. So, okay. Well, that's all we have for you today. So thank you for joining us on the Can't Believe You Haven't Seen It Yet podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode.
All right.